All right. Good afternoon. My name is Carter Hesterman, and I will be talking about how to fail as a remote engineer. But before I do that, as I was preparing this talk, I was deciding whether I wanted to lean into the fact that this is actually a representation of my original talk or not, and I just said, yeah, I'll acknowledge it. So the kind folks at Slopes Events and Utah.js in the venue we're at here have been kind enough to let me come back and re-record my talk. We had some technical difficulties with the original footage back in October, so here I am. And I was really tempted to just pretend like there's, all the people are here still and everything, but then I realized it might be kind of awkward when nobody laughs at my jokes. So to accommodate for that, first off, now you're aware that I am presenting to myself. And I also have a pocket sitcom app here so somebody can laugh at my jokes. So with that, moving forward, a little bit about me. So I'm born and raised in Salt Lake. I've worked at a few companies around the valley here, went to school here as well, and most recently, so my current job, I work as the director of engineering at Jupiter One, or a director of engineering. There's a couple others as well. And that's actually where I started my remote work experience, was on the J1 team about 3.5 years ago. So it was pre-pandemic and everything. I think I would have had different opinions about remote work if I was forced into it, but thankfully I opted into it and I've loved it. And you'll hear all about what I love about it throughout my presentation here. But so yeah, I've been in full-time remote for a little over 3 years. I come from a self-managed contract work background, so on the side I would run, do some freelance projects and make things for small companies or hobby projects for people. And learned a lot about managing myself, nobody looking over my shoulder, making sure I'm putting up X number of PRs per day, but a lot about how to just provide value in a meaningful cadence. And then lastly, I think this is the thing that actually provides me with the most unique perspective. Within the past 18 months, I've both been a senior engineer on an engineering team, fully remote, and also a manager managing a team full of remote employees. So I've been on both sides of the coin of, as a peer, this is how I perceive my teammates who are also remote, and also as a manager, this is how I perceive my employees who are remote. Both of which I think are important if you're going to succeed as a remote engineer, or are important to know about if you're trying not to fail as a remote engineer. So here's a few things I'm hoping you'll learn. First off, how to represent your work, how to make sure people know you are providing value. Second is how to manage your work, not falling into common traps that we'll talk a little bit more about. And then lastly is how to take care of yourself and really enjoy the benefits of being remote. The common challenges of remote work can really be broken up into two categories. The first one is communication-based. So, obviously you're not in the office with people. You have to be very deliberate. There's less ad hoc communication. No one knows whether you're working or not. We'll come back to that one in a minute. And then, the second one is more environmental-based challenges. Household distractions, having your kid run into your office while you're on a Zoom call with some important clients, self-motivation management, and then it's also easy to build bad habits. And so, hopefully you'll be able to learn how to accommodate some of these. But if anything else from this presentation, I want you to take this away, is if you focus on this, everything will be great. We're remote, but not alone. It's a slogan I coined for my team. Super cute sounding, right? Very fluffy, but actually this is kind of like the mantra that guides all the decisions we make about how we handle our work and how we handle interacting with each other on my team. If you're remote, that's great, but the problems really start to arise when you're remote and alone. You're working by yourself at 11 o'clock at night and nobody is there to help you, or you're stuck on a project and you don't feel like you can ask anyone for help. So if anything, just focus on trying to not be alone, communicating with others, and incorporating some of these other tips, and things will work out for you and you will have a good time. So, first section, how to represent your work. Remote but not alone, that's the first thing I want you guys to remember. The second thing is, everything can also come down to making sure your team doesn't think that you are doing this during the workday. This is... Yeah. I promise in the actual presentation, people laughed at it. I'm not gonna lie, even as a peer, but especially as a manager, it's hard to not default to assuming somebody is off playing Minecraft, dropping diamonds in lava or something, or, watching Netflix or something like that. If I reach out at 2:30 in the afternoon and they don't respond, I don't hear from them for 45 minutes. I'm going to assume they're not working. And maybe I shouldn't default to assuming that. They're probably in the zone, they're probably focusing. But like human nature generally, my experience has been a lot of us default to assuming this about people, especially when they're remote. So a few ways to fail at representing your work. Be slow or unresponsive when responding to messages. Do let me think that you're doing a poor job of building a house in Minecraft. Leave people unsure if you're working or not. Those kind of tie hand in hand. And then the last one is have your camera off at meetings. That's a great way for me to be able to forget about you being on the team or just assume that you're not paying attention. Conversely, how to succeed in this area. Always be finding ways to remind people you exist. Just make lots of noise. Don't be too annoying about it, but err on the side of over-communicating. I'll talk more about this for the last bullet point, but Slack and Zoom, we've been given awesome tools in 2021, 2022. Like we have a whole plethora of tools at our disposal to help with this that make asynchronous work and also like remote work really a joy to work with. Operate as a teammate, not an individual. This is more of a mindset shift, and you also have to have a team that kind of fosters this environment. But looking for ways to jump on pairing sessions and collaborate and weigh in on discussions on Slack. You see people talking about something, try to find something to contribute or ask questions about it. Again, further reminding people that you exist and you are actually at your desk, engaged and interested in what you're doing as a company. Default to having your camera on. Again, like if I don't see the camera on and we're having a retrospective or sprint planning, I'm just going to assume that you're not paying attention or you're doing something that maybe you don't want us to see. Whether you actually or not, maybe you are wearing your pajamas still and bad hair day. I have those all the time. But if you have your camera on, it just provides everyone that further reassurance that you are actually engaged and you are trying to be a part of the team and contribute to the meeting. This last bullet point, this has probably been the most useful thing that we've started doing on my team, is use your Slack statuses effectively, or Teams, or whatever communication method you're using. But maybe I am playing Minecraft during the day, and you know what? I work remote. As long as I don't have a meeting and I'm still getting my stuff done, I should be able to do that. Your manager might disagree, but generally, one of the benefits of working from home is we can be flexible with what we're doing and when we do it. Maybe I'm on a walk, maybe I'm eating lunch, maybe I'm working out, going to the library, reading a book, meditating, doing yoga, all sorts of things. But essentially, if I reach out to somebody at 2:30 and they don't respond, that's one thing. But if I'm going to reach out to them at 2:30 and then I see, they're at the gym right now until 3:30, I'm like, cool, yeah, no, I'm not going to reach out to them until 3:30, or I don't expect them to respond until later. So this has been huge for my team with making remote work just a lot easier. It helps us build trust with each other, and has really helped us be a lot better at, not having to check our phones every 10 minutes while we're away doing something. I'd be like, oh yeah, my teammates know I'm unavailable right now, so they can wait. On to the next section. So doing this stuff, or how to manage your work. Great ways to fail at this are going dark for extended periods of time. I've got 2 asterisks next to that because I think being able to focus and go into the zone is really important. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do that. And the key here is going dark for extended periods of time. Let me ask the question, I don't know if employee A, B, or C is working, and I also haven't heard or seen anything from them in days. I haven't seen any pull requests, I haven't seen any Slack messages. That's a little red flag for me as a manager and as a teammate. Overpromising and under-delivering is a great way to really ruin your work-life balance. This is something that all of us struggle with, and we tend to get a little better as we progress in our career of learning, okay, cool, if I say I can do it tomorrow, then that might make it so tonight is really miserable. But it never really goes away. We can't forecast everything. But again, being conservative with our estimates is really important. If you're in the office, you'll see people going home and everything, and so you'll kind of be able to check yourself a little better with overworking yourself and burning out. But when you're remote, it's really easy to also look at the clock and be like, I haven't gone to the bathroom in I don't know. I'm drinking water. I don't know. Yeah, so it's really easy to look up and all of a sudden have it be 10 o'clock at night and there goes your whole day. And that's an excellent way to make yourself just miserable and be not want to be working on your current project. It's frustrating for everybody really in that regard. And then the last one is delivering the wrong thing, which seems like it shouldn't happen that much just because we're engineers, we solve problems, we make stuff, but there's a lot of times we're more vulnerable to the risk of, getting wires crossed, receiving requirements, and hearing them one way, but they were meant to be communicated a different way. And so again, if you're not communicating a lot, and if you're, being remote, you're a lot more at risk to be able to miss the mark on what was actually expected of you. Conversely, to succeed in this regard, or to succeed in managing your work, no one should really ever have to ask the question, what did Carter do today? Or what did employee A, B, or C do today? Some ways to help with this. Be goal-oriented, not time-oriented. I hope that each of my employees put in a solid 40 hours worth of work, but I am not tracking how long they're at their desks. I don't care about that. If they're able to convince me they did 40 hours worth of work and get it done in 30, like, good for them. I want to know what you're doing with the extra 10 hours of your life. Please talk to me if you guys are watching this. But yeah, being goal-oriented. So to kind of assist this, I'm actually going to skip down. Yeah, okay, no, it's the next one. Have an artifact of your work each day. So I started this when I was working as an intern at my first job. But I ran into issues where it's like, oh, I just want to finish this up, or wrap up this commit, and then I'll push up, and then I'll have a good breaking point for tomorrow. And like, one of two things happens in that scenario. Either A, I end up taking way too long to actually wrap up where I was at, and it's like I'm like 40% through this thing, but I don't want to start at 40% tomorrow because that's weird to start there. Or I'll finish it up to 100%, and then I'll start the next day tomorrow, sit at my desk, and be like, all right, I'm here. Like, what are we going to work on? Both of which are just kind of a pain to make it, getting out of bed in the morning, being like, what am I going to do today? So to help with this, for me, I realize artifact of your work each day. I'm getting to this backwards. But starting the day, I like to put a little sticky note on my computer, or scribble a note somewhere, or even like break the code and like leave a comment so it doesn't compile the next day. And saying like, you were right here, and this is what you're doing, and this is what you need to do next. And that's a great way to pause the flow, be able to get out, start doing something else, go home, or shut the door to the office and be done for the day, and then know the next day, okay, I trust yesterday Carter to make sure I know what I'm going to be doing today. I sit down and be like, oh yeah, like, great job yesterday, Carter. Like, there's the notes for what I need to do. By the end of your day, though, however, having an artifact of your work, that can take the form of a pull request, Jira tickets, Slack conversations, anything that can show, here's what Carter or employee A, B, or C completed today, is extremely helpful for me as a manager, and also for your teammates to see that, yeah, they're pulling their weight and they're contributing. Aside from that, I do think it's a good practice to try and put pull requests up every day. It doesn't always work out that cleanly. But also if you have PRs going on 3-4 days, that's a whole different issue. Plan for tomorrow before you close today, if that's the one I was looking for. We talked about that. And then actively seek feedback and clarification frequently. This ties into kind of one of the previous points of over-communicating, but making sure that you're, people aren't just stamping your PRs. It's really easy, especially in like startups, and there's a lot of companies that are just trying to go fast, and in a remote environment, it's especially easy to just be like, okay, stamp, I'm going to get back to work, because like they're not going to like sit down and watch me review their code. And you can miss out on a lot of value for both yourself, for not receiving feedback because people are assuming you just want a rubber stamp, and vice versa, not providing value to your teammates for just rubber stamping their pull requests. So something to keep in mind there. And then the last one, let people know when you work extra hard. If you work until 2 o'clock in the morning, you get a whole bunch of stuff done and nobody notices, does it matter? I propose that it does not. There's all sorts of things that you can go and be like, well, the customer and all that, but like, no, like if you're in the office and you work until 2 in the morning, somebody's gonna see you staying there late and people are gonna talk, and then you're gonna be heralded as a hero engineer, and like hero culture is a whole separate thing to talk about, and like I wish we had other things to value other than being like, wow, this person worked so late, like they're the best engineer on the team. It's kind of the industry we're in right now, and at least acknowledging that, I think if you do put in a lot of work, that is something that like as a manager I want to know about, and I think your teammates should, you deserve to be appreciated for that. Again, not encouraging everybody to go and work late and saying that's the thing we value, but it is, somebody else is going to be doing it in the office and they're going to look better because they're not remote. So as a remote employee, if I'm working on something, on the rare occasion I've had to work until, the early hours of the morning on a project to get something done for, a deal we're trying to close, you better believe that I'm going to be kind of, not inconsiderate, but very noisy with like putting up my Slack messages and, putting my PRs in Slack. And, that way the next day when people log on, they'll be like, oh, wow, yeah, Carter like put up, he was working until late in the night. And Carter was Carter was okay letting everybody know that he was working late at night. If they don't have their Slack messages snoozed at like 2 o'clock in the morning, that's on them. But yeah, again, that's just an area that we're a little more vulnerable to being in a remote environment. Okay, the last section, balancing it all, how to take care of yourself, how to really enjoy working remote and getting the most out of it. Well, I guess first one, how to get the least out of it and how to fail at it. Don't take breaks. Do the thing where you look up and you're like, oh, it's 5 o'clock. Like, why am I not? Oh, I am hungry. Oh, I need to go to the bathroom. I need to get some water. Or just, being like, I'm just going to go heads down and get this done and maybe take off an hour early. That's a frequent one I've heard as well, of people will maybe not take lunch and then they'll, work 9 to 4, which, like, that's fine. Like, I don't care about that. More of like, you end up shorting yourself and you end up burning yourself out little by little. It's kind of a sneaky way to end up harming your mental well-being. So I'd encourage you, well, actually we're talking about how to fail, so I won't encourage you to do anything. I'll encourage you to not take breaks. Work your regular hours. Every day when you wake up, alarm goes off, you're like, I'm gonna snooze it. I'm gonna just, spin the wheel and see what time are we gonna get out of bed today. Okay, we're gonna sleep in an extra 45 minutes and start. We don't have any meetings. Maybe tomorrow we'll get up on time. Another great way to make every single day exhausting. Start your day off with just like a chore, just figuring out when you're gonna get out of bed. Don't take advantages of the benefits of working from home, and then also make your home office a terrible place to exist. I looked up photos of this, and like it just kind of made me cringe, and it was uncomfy. I was going to have some photos of like examples of bad places to work at home, but I think you know it when you see it, and you know it if you have it as well. So conversely, finding ways to succeed at this, be consistent and predictable. Don't spin the wheel every morning for when you're going to get up. Set a time and just make the decision for yourself the night before. Yeah, I'm going to get up at 7:45 or 9:15, or just be consistent about it though. Find a work cadence technique. I know a lot of people that do Pomodoro timers. I personally don't use them, but it's essentially you schedule in breaks for yourself without the day, and you work for 45 minutes and take a 15-minute break, 45 minutes, 15-minute break. Personally, I like to do calendar reminders and events so people know not to bother me on Slack. They'll be like, oh, Carter's going for a walk right now, and he has his walk scheduled every day at like 1:15 to 1:30, or he's got his lunch every day from 12 to 1. So that works well for me. Work consistent hours, I think I've talked about that one enough. Create a distraction-free zone to work in. I used to work out of my kitchen, which was great when my spouse was working in an office and I didn't have a 2-year-old. As my family situation, my home situation changed, I ended up having to move upstairs into one of the spare bedrooms and get that all set up and everything because it just became really difficult to work down there and, lots of distractions. Make your work area pleasing for you to be in. This is an interesting one because one of the only things that like your peers and your boss and everybody have to go off of is like you in Zoom, and then like how you present yourself, what's behind you or anything, which I think it's kind of a missed opportunity. Not everybody can like hang stuff on their walls behind them, but I do think it's an opportunity if you have that chance to kind of display a little bit about yourself. I have like a profane amount of guitars hung on my wall where it's like extremely heavy-handed. It's like, yeah, Carter likes music and he plays guitar. But it does give me something to talk about when I'm interviewing people or talking to people throughout the week. And it showcases like a little part of my personality. So I recommend that. I do enjoy going into my room. I've got the guitars on the wall, but then like what people don't see is like I've got a Viking shield from the Renaissance Fair. I've got a trophy I got for winning a laser tag tournament in college on my desk that I'm super proud of still, and I need to get over it. And a bunch of other things that just kind of remind me of me or like who I am and kind of make me bring me joy when I see them in the morning. And then the last one is lean into the benefits of working from home. There are a lot. I would argue there's far more benefits than drawbacks if you're set up correctly. The hours can be flexible when needed. You can work 10 to 6, 8 to 4, barring what your company policy is, but generally most of them I've heard are fairly flexible. You need to go go to the doctor's office, go to the dentist. Like you can do that during the day. You can get your work done another time, and like we can be flexible with that. You can have more fulfilling breaks. If you do want to go and play a game, you want to read, do some of the other things we talked about earlier, you can do that. I love working on my house and getting some projects done and things like that during my lunch break. Whereas, you can't really run home and do those things when you're at the office. You got to go to lunch or, sit at your desk and eat your food or something like that. It's a little bit less fun. So you have a lot more flexibility there. You can work from multiple locations. I have people on my team who have taken vacations across the world and worked over there, and they just shift their schedule a little bit to overlap with us so they're not alone. And that works really great. Or, I've worked from the park down the street from my house a couple times when I just want to get outside and tired of being indoors. And then lastly, my personal favorite, you don't have a commute, which is like an extra 30 to 45, maybe an hour, 60 minutes of your life back every day. And I hate driving. It's so stressful. I-15 it's never a joy to drive on I-15 or anywhere, I guess, during rush hour. But so yeah, I happily watch it from my window and say I'm glad that I could just close my door and go do whatever it is I want to do now. In conclusion, though, ultimately, you can make your work from home experience as awesome as you want if you're willing to think about it critically and get creative. I'd encourage each of you to kind of think about your office, think about the things, the habits you have around your remote work, and maybe take some notes. Think about what is one thing this week I can do to improve my efficiency as a remote worker, or one thing I can do to make it easier or more exciting for me to get up in the morning to go and sit down on my laptop at my desk. Maybe I need to update my office. Maybe I need to be better at knowing what I'm going to work on that day. Maybe I need to be more organized, for example. And then I didn't mention this at the beginning. I normally do, but I should have mentioned that I'd have a small pitch for my company at the end. But Jupiter One, awesome place to work. If anything I said today here has been inspiring, or you're like, wow, that sounds like something I want to do. Maybe you're not working remote and you want to try it, or you are working remote and you want a different experience. I'm not gonna lie, I'm biased, but I think we do remote really well here, and not every company does that. So feel free to reach out to me at any of these through any of these mediums, and I'd love to chat with you about this. And yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Can we crop the awkward walk off the stage? Thank you.